Hey crew! You know, the single most common question I get is how I started doing this and how I get the cars to review. 3.5 years ago, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I made a video to answer this question, but a lot has changed since then. And though my story, my background is the same, the advice I would give to would-be content creators is different. So here's the 2025 edition, and I hope it's helpful to you. Let me begin with my story, and I will try to keep it brief, but I do think it's helpful. So back in college, I did an internship for an automotive news show called Fastlane Daily. FLD was only on YouTube, and it was one of the first and most successful car channels on that platform. I loved my experience, and apparently they liked me because after my internship, they hired me on to write the scripts for the show. After I graduated, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, but I kept writing the scripts for FLD while I pursued a career in marketing. FLD was eventually bought and killed off, unfortunately, but my time with the show introduced me to a lot of friends and professionals in the car world. After I decided that marketing, well, that form of marketing, was not my calling in life, and after I began with my dad and eventually had to give up on a food product business, I used all my car connections to find writing gigs with car sites and magazines. Fast forward a couple years, having a great time, traveling the world, driving amazing cars, and then I got hit by a drunk driver while sitting on my motorcycle at a stoplight at 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and had a year-long recovery, during which time I relearned how to walk and function as a human being, and God completely healed me. As I recovered, I knew I wanted to start my own thing, and I felt God giving me the thumbs up to go do it, so I used my car network of people to find ways to start reviewing cars for myself. At first, I just drove the cars with a camera on my head and it didn't say anything, but eventually I started sharing my own opinions, I added the cabin camera, and eventually introduced the day in the life format. All right, so we're caught up now. But does that mean that you should just go try to replicate my story? Probably not, and here's why. The car writer job is evaporating. AI is replacing humans for most basic car stories, leaving just polished magazine articles and investigative journalism, which is going to be done by seasoned car journalists, not newbies. So the path I took of being a freelance writer and making connections and establishing myself in the industry is not really feasible anymore. Now, it's still possible to intern for and work in some capacity with car sites. And if you go that route, it is a guaranteed way to get on the radar of automaker PR teams. But it takes quite a while, and there are specific qualifications, and the pay is mostly not great until you're at a manager level. So if you're someone who is internally motivated, and this is definitely something you need to know about yourself, then my advice would be to start making your own car content. If you struggle with motivation or you need direction all the time, that's okay. It's just going to be very difficult for you to grow your own brand. So you might be better off working for another creator or a car site that's going to give you what you need. And by the way, those are not mutually exclusive. You can grow your own brand and work for a car site or creator at the same time. Right, now before I jump into how to get these cars, I want to give you a general overview of content creation, and you will need to know or learn what type of content you like making. So for example, if you are a writer, you're going to want to start a blog. If you are a photographer, then you'll need that Instagram. If you're a video creator, you'll need TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, maybe some other platforms, but those are the big ones to hit. If you don't know what you like doing, just start experimenting. Take pictures of cars at car meets, make a video about car news, write a blog post about the coolest new car wheels. I don't know. The act of making content will do two important things. One, obviously, it's going to show you what you like doing, and two, it's going to show you what works, what gets views online. But how do I get the cars, Miles? Sorry if you actually sound like that. Well, there are a couple options. So you could go the dealership route, which is a path I never really went down, but I do have friends and peers who did. If you are going to go the dealer route, just keep one thing in mind. You will still need some sort of following before ever approaching the dealership. You can't go in when no one is watching your stuff and just say, hey, give me a car. They won't. When you have some following, it doesn't have to be huge, then you can pitch the dealerships on giving them a shout out in your videos in exchange for access to their cars. And this may just be a walk around at first, but eventually they will let you drive the cars and you can make full-on reviews. The downside of this approach, and the reason I really never did it, was because dealerships are not going to give you access, or at least continue giving you access, if you have anything negative to say about the cars. They are a business after all. The other part of it is that there is that whole shoutouts thing in all your videos, and I didn't like the feel of that personally. I say that not at all to pass judgment on people who use dealerships, because especially for some folks out in the middle of nowhere, you only have car dealerships as the way to get access to the car. I live in a hub for automakers to give loans to media. I'm very fortunate, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'll talk about the benefits of being near one of these hubs when I get into the actual car loans. For now, we'll just say if you don't want to work with a dealership, there are some other options. One super basic and probably obvious option is to review friend and family vehicles. If you aren't old enough to drive, just maybe review features of the car while it's parked. If you are old enough to drive and the friend or family member allows you to drive their car, then you can make full reviews. As time goes on and your audience grows, even strangers might let you review their cars. I've done that on my channel. But for a lot of people, the ultimate goal is what I'm now fortunate to do: get loans directly from the car companies. And a little disclaimer just to start this one off: people often ask, do the car companies pay you to review cars? And the answer is no. So if you were hoping to make money from the car companies while also reviewing their cars, got some bad news. But here's the big difference between a car company loan and something done with a dealership. My opinion isn't under control. If I say a car or a certain feature of a car is good or bad, it's because I think so, not because someone is watching me or paying me to say that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just start bashing cars for no good reason. If you have fair points, then one, the automaker is almost certainly aware of those things, and two, they will, if not agree with you, at least respect your difference of opinion. Cool, but how do you get in touch with the car companies? This is probably the hardest part of the whole car content creation journey, with the simplest answer. And here's the basic truth. If your videos are getting views and your audience is engaged, then one of two things will happen. Either the automaker will reach out to you via social media or email or something, or you can cold outreach to them via information that's publicly available online, or again, through social media channels. If you're the one reaching out, then for the automaker to take you seriously, they're going to look for high exposure and or specialization. By that I mean either your videos are getting tons of views and comments, or the types of cars and topics you're covering are directly related to an automaker. I have seen a lot of new car content creators start with the specialized route because it is a quicker way to get attention, to get car loans from specific automakers. For example, my friend Toyota Jeff Reviews only covered Toyota and Lexus vehicles for a while. He has now grown and he has a more generic auto review channel where he covers other brands. When you've done the legwork, when you've gotten the okay from the automaker to get car loans, how does it actually work? Automakers work with fleet management companies to run logistics of getting their cars into media hands. These fleet companies have hubs in places like LA, Dallas, Seattle, Miami, New York. And so if you live in or very close to these places, life is going to be a lot easier for you. If you don't, that means that you may get cars much less frequently, or depending on where you live, not at all. Hence why I said some people have to work with dealerships. Most car loans, including this WRX TS I'm reviewing, are given for a 7-day period. Some cars, like Lamborghini, Ferrari, exotics, super expensive things, are given for a shorter period of time, just a couple days, and are typically mileage limited. These cars are typically delivered to your house. They're clean, they've got a full tank of gas, and basic car insurance coverage. The car company then sends you a loan agreement, which is mostly for your benefit, just in case the car is stolen or something. They're not going to hold you liable. But in that agreement, they do expect you to provide your own car insurance. I haven't really ever heard of a car company coming after you, going through your own insurance for an incident, especially if it's not your fault. But I mean, if you destroy the car doing something dumb, chances are you'll never get a car loan from that company again, or at least maybe not for a long, long time, but they're not really going to come after you for your money. Now, obviously, that is a lot of information to process, and hopefully you felt free to pause the video or go back through any of the things I said. But I wanted to finish off by just spending a second talking about goal setting and growing. Getting started is easy. Once you've got a name, you can spend like 5 minutes setting up your various social media profiles, and maybe another 10 to 15 minutes creating a basic logo or just using a photo of yourself as the thumbnail. The hard part is sticking with it and setting realistic goals to keep you going. Everyone wants to be the next Doug DeMuro or Throttle House or Forrest Auto Reviews, but the journey will have a lot of ups and downs. I can guarantee, because I've lived through this, there are times when you'll want to just completely give up or start all over again. And tweaks and refinements are important parts of the process, but the real difference between people who have success doing this and those that don't are the ability to keep going. My personal caveat to that is that if at any point in time God told me stop or change course, I would do precisely that. But the point is that while anyone can do this job, really anyone, only some will have the determination to make it to a point of success. And I've got a whole lot more to say about setting goals, overcoming challenges, tips for locking in your content, and how to make money doing this. But I will let you tell me with views and comments whether that's something you actually want to see. I hope this video has at least answered some of your questions. And as always, thank you for being part of the crew.